What's up, guys? Part-time Gamer Dad here, and today I'm going to give you my predictions for the matches that have been announced for Raw's debut episode on Netflix. Now, to be clear, I'm working off of Wikipedia, so there's a match I know that's going to happen that isn't even on the Wikipedia page, but I'm going to include that. So right now, I have 5 matches in mind. I'm not going to cover any returns. I'm not going to cover any segments. If you're interested in what I think might happen in addition to these announced matches for the debut episode on Netflix for Raw, go check out my How I Fantasy Booked John Cena's retirement tour. I do include a segment that I think would be fun. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I thought it'd be fun. I do anticipate we'll see Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, John Cena, potentially The Rock, potentially Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch. So this is what they call WrestleMania adjacent event. So I anticipate they're going to pull out all the stops. This is going to be potentially bigger than one of the nights of WrestleMania in terms of just like the star power and the matchups we have. But obviously this is still a Raw. So there will be furthering of storylines, and there might be some shady and dusty finishes or dusty developments of the matches that would cause this not to be a pay-per-view quality event overall. But I do think we're going to see some pay-per-view quality action. So let's get into it. Starting this off, I want to talk about the tribal combat match with Ulafala between the OTC, Roman Reigns, and the self-proclaimed tribal chief, Solo Sikoa. Obviously, this is for the Ulafala and the recognition of the role, the title, the honor of being called the tribal chief, the head of the table of the Anoa'i family. That includes such stalwarts of the WWE and wrestling industry as a whole, such as Yokozuna, Rikishi, the Wild Samoans, Alpha and Sika, obviously The Rock, the Usos, and then, of course, these two men, Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns. And just thinking through, again, furthering storyline development, this is probably, to me, there's 2 matches I have a hard time kind of pinning down who's going to win. This match, I can see it going either way. I think this was originally announced as the main event, and it sounds like the main event's going to be Punk versus Rollins. So I'm not sure if this match goes on last. I could see Roman winning, and I think Roman will win at the end of the day. I think Roman wins with The Rock coming out. I'd like to see this kick off, do a big, this is how we are kicking off the Raw on Netflix era. Have Roman win, and then The Rock's music hits. And that ends the first segment. How huge would that be to see The Rock returning on the debut Raw episode of Netflix? I think Roman's got to win it, right? There is a chance that Solo wins, because what happens if he loses the right to be called the tribal chief? We all still recognize Roman Reigns as the tribal chief, as the OTC. We also throw up the ones when he comes out. But what does that mean for Solo? What does it mean for the Bloodline 2.0 if Solo loses? So I can see them going either way. I'm going to be playing it safe. I'm going to say Roman Reigns wins this one, and then we get an appearance by the final boss, the great one, the People's Champ, carrying around that championship that he got earlier this year in The Rock. Next up, we have potentially a conclusion to one of the longest running storylines of this last year in between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley in a last woman standing match for the Women's World Championship. And this is great. I love that we're finally getting the conclusion. Not because I don't like both Liv and Rhea, but the title has really been kind of in a chokehold ever since Rhea went out with that injury, and they got the title onto Becky, then got it onto Liv, and now it's been with Liv, and Liv's fine. But this whole storyline, you had the second injury with Rhea Ripley, which then led to kind of a weird booking of the development of the Survivor Series War Games match, and then getting this final match, the whole botched finish with the Dom and a shark cage match. There's just a lot of stuff that just hasn't worked in the context of this feud. But I think this could be a good way to send off this feud, and I would have Rhea win. I would just look, when we get to WrestleMania season, we're going to need something big. I think we have Io versus Rhea. We got Bianca versus Rhea. We could have Jade versus Rhea. We got Becky again versus Rhea. We have Charlotte versus Rhea again. There's a lot of options you have for Rhea Ripley to defend that title against, and that's to say if she even gets there. But I really think that we are looking at the next Women's World Champion in Rhea Ripley. It's weird because I think it really would have been cool if Rhea was had stayed the heel. In the original idea behind the storyline is you would have had Rhea stay the heel, and then Liv Morgan go on that revenge tour and then like beat her properly at SummerSlam or whatever in this big babyface win celebration. I think it actually worked out Liv's favor, that it's kind of flipped the dynamics, flipped the roles of her being this heel that everyone hates. And now Rhea Ripley, mommy, is uber babyface, puts Rhea in a really great position to defend against anybody at WrestleMania, which I think is what's got to happen, because Rhea Ripley is going to win. She's finally going to defeat Liv Morgan and win back her Women's World Championship. Next up, we have Drew McIntyre versus Jay Uso. Now, this match is like, when you think about Drew McIntyre, and he's kind of on his revenge tour, if you will, right now, I think there's a lot of good reasons to think that Drew McIntyre is going to win, and that's actually what I have here is Drew McIntyre winning. He's kind of going on this revenge tour and working his way through the bloodline, and I think that might end up leading to Cody versus Drew at some point down the road, because Cody helped out the bloodline. He helped out Roman when he was going against Bloodline 2.0. So I think that we're going to see Drew McIntyre defeat Jay Uso to kind of keep that momentum going, or if Jay beats him here, I think we see a rematch here in the next few weeks, potentially at the Royal Rumble, kind of flesh out that card a little bit. Maybe like a Falls Count Anywhere match, last man standing match. I think Drew McIntyre, he's on his path this year at some point to potentially win a world title. I'd like to see the world title go to SmackDown, and I'd like Drew to go to SmackDown, because I think whatever happens on Raw, you're going to kind of have this, like, again, a chokehold on the title between Roman, Cody, The Rock, potentially Kevin Owens, potentially a couple other people. And I think Drew kind of gets further and further back in line. But if we're talking about the World Heavyweight Championship, if we move that over to SmackDown in this era where everybody's kind of going to be flipping around on shows, I think that gives him a really great chance to win another World Championship. And I could totally see him doing that. And in my like John Cena booking video, I said I think he could beat John for the world title at some point in the summer, and I think that'd be great. And I think it'd be a good way to cement his legacy and kind of like make good on, you know, the fact that he had to defend his title in front of nobody for a whole year, and he held it down during the pandemic. So I have Drew McIntyre winning this matchup and then continuing his revenge tour and taking out the remainder of the bloodline, including Roman and potentially not part of the bloodline but adjacent Cody Rhodes. Next up, before I get into the main event, or what I think is going to be the main event, I want to talk to you about the New Day Rey Mysterio match. So Rey Mysterio challenged the New Day. He's going to have a mystery partner to tag alongside him. And I think that partner is going to be Pentagon. Pentagon Jr., Pentagon Dark, Penta L0, like whatever you want to call him. I call him Penta. I think Penta's going to show up. He's going to team up with Rey Mysterio, and we're going to see Rey Mysterio and Pentagon defeat the New Day. I don't think it devalues the New Day at all losing this matchup, because Pentagon is a huge deal. He is an incredible like character, and I think the aura of him coming in, especially with the way they've been building him up with all of these like hype videos and teasers, I think he's got to win his debut match. If it's not Penta, then I don't know. Then the New Day probably win, but I can't see. I mean, it's a mystery partner on the debut on Netflix episode of Raw. I mean, like, come on, it's gotta be Pentagon. And it's a bummer, because it could have been cool if like Rey was like, hey, I have a mystery team to come against you guys at the debut Netflix Raw episode. That would have been cool, because then Rey Fenix comes in, you get the Lucha Bros versus New Day. Great first match. Obviously, AEW has added time to Rey Fenix's AEW contract because of his injury that he sustained a while back. And so we don't have Rey Fenix, but we do have his brother Pentagon. I think that's who teams up with Rey Mysterio. And then those guys, the Lucha Boys, we'll call them the mysterious Pentagons, will defeat the New Day. Maybe Big E gets involved somehow. Either way, I don't think New Day's walking away with the win this time. Which leads us to what I think will be the main event. The match that should have main evented night one of WrestleMania 40 originally. And that was CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins. Seth is teasing heel. He's teasing heel. I feel like because he's teasing heel, he's got to do something to cement himself as a heel. So why wouldn't you just have him cheat to defeat CM Punk? Because I don't think CM Punk's going heel. I just don't see that happening. He's too big of a baby face. Seth Rollins is a great worker. We all love him. We all appreciate him. But there's been hints, right? There's been like all of these teasers. So I think... Look, this is the other match that like I'm really struggling on, like what could happen. And there's a number of things that could happen. Number one, you could have guys like Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, all these guys. And I've been saying this for a while, like we get a new super faction of Seth, Kevin, and Drew. These guys who are justifiably turning their backs on the fans, turning heel, decided that they were wronged, and rightfully so, like fighting back against these people they feel like have wronged them. All the things that Seth Rollins said this last Monday, and as well as CM Punk, they were all justified. They were all accurate to a degree. So do I see CM Punk being able to defeat Seth? I mean, sure, but like that's the catharsis that we want to get out of this, right? So I think Triple H tells long-term stories, right? So I think we're not getting a cathartic release yet. I think Seth Rollins wins this one by some shady, dirty means, whether that's interference or he goes heel. Or if CM Punk does win, then I think it's like kind of a roll-up situation, like the way that Seth will see it. It's a fluke, right? Like you didn't actually beat me, you got lucky. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I actually think Seth is going to beat CM Punk. Whatever's going to happen is going to be a banger match. Like this match will steal the show, in my opinion. Maybe outside of something like the New Day versus Penta and Rey, if they let Penta go off. But I think this match has the potential to steal the show. I think they're going to hold back a little bit because I do think we're going to see this match on a bigger stage at some point, and that will be the true like classic that everybody remembers. But for the debut Netflix episode of Raw, I have Seth Rollins going over on CM Punk. All right, guys, those are my predictions for the debut episode of Raw on Netflix. Let me know in the comments below your predictions. What do you think is going to happen on the show? What kind of returns, debuts do you think are going to happen? What kind of segments do you think are going to happen? Do you think we're going to get any other like exciting impromptu matchups? Are you excited for Raw on Netflix? It feels like it's a brand new era. It's very exciting in my humble opinion. And make sure you like the video if you already liked it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. I will see you very soon.